in this country, what we've done is we've taken our educational system and we keep lowering the bar. We keep dumbing it down. We keep thinking we need to make it easier. We need to make it simpler. So now if your kid doesn't like multiplication and learning, you know, how many of you sat and learned your multiplication tables and yeah, okay. Now if you don't like that, that's, by the way, math is racist and you shouldn't have to do math because it's racist. In fact, anything you don't like today is racist. Anything. You know, you can walk into a restaurant and, it's chicken noodle soup, that's racist. I'm not going to eat that, okay? So that's what we've become. Think about that. And that is why, if we do not stop the madness of what is happening, we are going to produce a generation of children who are incapable of functioning, incapable of protecting this country, incapable of making this country work. Why? Because people have introduced into our school systems the most damnable heresy. You know, 50 years ago, the most damnable heresy being taught was evolution. Now it's critical race theory. And yeah, I'm going to go there. See, it really bugs me how you could conclude that our system completely, but specifically judicial and educational, is set up as racist, that we have a basically a systemic problem. How do you make that statement match the statement of what our founders said, that all men are created equal and that we all have this inalienable right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness? Does that sound racist to you by any means, what I just said? Right. But this thing over here wants to indoctrinate every child. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. And you all may hate me after this, but I'll speak the truth. And the truth is that we are raising up a generation of children who will see themselves as victims, not as conquerors, not as achievers, but as victims of the system that you and I have lived through and come through pretty good. But no, now we have victims of society, no longer capable of, if you look at somebody, that's what I said, your opinion. If you're not thinking right, if you're not in with the right opinion, you are now ostracized. You are now out of the community. The cancel culture has made sure that people who are straight sticks cannot stand, such as myself or others, stand and say a truth without being harshly criticized afterwards. How dare you say that? Well, I'll say it. This damnable thing that's been introduced to our children, and all it is, if you want to know, is a group of sociologists and literary theorists who have basically propagated the worst type of propaganda into the youngest, most malleable minds, who will grow up thinking that they have been wrong, they have been victims, and they must pay restitution to every single person on the planet because they've wronged everybody. Listen to me. This is what's happened when you get away from the Bible and you start letting people make these kinds of, and they are damnable statements. You can say it is in the heart of humankind to be evil and to hate, and this would be true. That's a true statement. Don't try and make it a doctrine that our system itself is rigged. I can tell you, this may be the most political message I've ever said. I can tell you, our system is broken. It's not broken. It's broken. It does not work. I'm not telling you get rid of the police. I'm telling you hire more police. I'm not telling you to undo the justice system. I'm telling you it needs to be reformed. Why? Because there are too many people who are doing the right thing and getting punished for it, and too many of the wrong out there who are just walking freely. And nobody seems to care that the country with American spirit has been broken. Why? I'll tell you why. If you don't care enough about this book, and that is the fraction of this country, that is the great divide of this country, the people who actually care about God, who know there's somebody above them, who they will be accountable to one day, versus those people who are in the autonomous zone. They are their own makers. They do whatever they want, including indoctrinating your children with erroneous concepts that will not only hurt them, but future generations. And nobody seems to care. Nobody's fighting it. Where are we? What are we doing? Why won't anyone wake up? Let's be honest here. Our own history of this country, of this great country, has a lot of shades to it. We have things we should be fiercely proud of, and we have things that we should be not so proud of. But it's all our history. It belongs to us. So think about this. Instead of teaching our children real American history, you ever watch the guy, I won't say the station, and I won't say his name, but he goes out on the street and he asks people questions. Like, he asks kids, when was the War of 1812? And you'd be surprised at what they say. Have you ever seen that guy? Yes. So you know what and it's not just kids, he talks to all kinds of people. So it's a very sad statement when people can't tell you. He asks who fought the Civil War, and you got people saying different countries don't even know who fought in the Civil War and what it was about. Because we're not teaching history anymore, and we have succumbed to wanting to whitewash our history to make ourselves look better. If you remember, with statues commemorating historical figures being taken down, because it's offensive, because that person was racist, because that person had slaves, because that person did thus and so. Well, let me just tell you, that is part of history. That's like saying, let's take any person here. John, man, you got the worst history. No, it's not true, okay? You got the worst history. But instead of saying your worst history and then saying, and here I stand, he comes off and says, I got a great history. I got a great story. Everything's good. Everything about me is great. Well, if you want to just take him at his face value, good for you. But if you probe, you're going to find out that's not true, right? If anybody's looking, you find out that, okay, you can talk about Christopher Columbus and say, well, Christopher Columbus was this and he was that, okay, but he was still Christopher Columbus. Any of you people criticizing Christopher Columbus make the discoveries he did or do anything of the nature that he did? No, so I suggest you zip it, because it's part of our history. You may not like the fact that this country has been splintered several times over by race, by color, by gender. You can pick all you want, but it's still the fabric that makes up our history. And failure to tell that history accurately, not revisionist, failure to tell that history is a definite setup to watch history repeat itself again and again and again. And if you're not sure of what I'm saying, look at history. History has a way where the culture has been basically whitewashed. Some will come full circle again to see we're just setting ourselves up for future generations to make the same mistakes that we made in the past, instead of teaching and making those mistakes the learning material at the heart and core of our educational system. You know, you can be ashamed all you want. I heard kids in the last probably year or two, oh, America's not great, America's terrible. Well then, hey, get out, leave. I got a great idea for you. I got a great idea for you. If you don't like this country, see, I came here as a choice, but if you don't like it, get out, leave. We don't need people here who are not going to be supporting, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, patriots, because that's what's missing from this country, is people saying, don't tell me America's not great. America is the greatest country on the face of the planet. Where can you go? Tell me. Some of you maybe have a better idea. Where can you go and have the freedoms, even though we're seeing freedoms being taken away, which is why I said fight for your freedom. Where can you go in the world? Tell me, what country can you go where you can freely walk down the street, dressed however you want, looking however you want, if you want to be gay, if you want to have green hair, if you want to look like an alien, whatever it is you want. Go down to Hollywood Boulevard, mind you. But where else can you go? The answer is nowhere. So unless you're ready to stand up and fight for this country, I'm not willing to hear another person say, America's not great. The fact of the matter is, Our world is really messed up right now, so it needs men and women of the book who will basically say, I will do the right thing. I will raise my child. If I have to educate my child in the home before I let my child be indoctrinated with crazy doctrines that have no place in a child's mind, none whatsoever. Show me the parents that say, I will sacrifice whatever it is, my calling, my career, to make my child's education happen properly, not because I'm entrusting. Have you heard what the educators are saying? You parents don't know anything. How could you possibly know what's right for your child? You like that? Because I don't. Now, I don't have children. And if I had children, I would be incredibly resentful for somebody telling me I don't know what I'm doing. When a mother or a father's love for their child says, I want to do the best, and you may be failing at doing your best, but you're doing your best, there's where criticism is not welcome. Sorry.
Come into this house, magnify the Lord, lift up holy hands, our hearts in one accord.